Good evening. Am I audible? Like, can everyone hear me?
Yes, yes.
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 Sure. Thank you. So, good evening, all. Unlike the previous sessions, we'll be conducting this session in English because our speaker here also will be speaking in English. So, first of all, welcoming you all to the session. Uh, for the ones who haven't attended any sessions before, this session is conducted by Happlyf Wellness. We are an online therapy and counseling providing platform based in Calicut, and we are conducting these sessions for psychology community. You are all part of this WhatsApp group called Happlyf Psy Community, and we will be conducting such sessions in the future as well. All you have to do is continue following the group and uh, join such sessions that interest you. So, coming to today's session, we are conducting this as part of giving you insights on how to develop professionally and improve your skills regarding your therapy and counseling. So, for that, we are very proud to welcome Mr. Veerapandian. He is our mentor at Happlyf, and he has a vast experience in as a practitioner of therapy, and also he was a former faculty at Tata Institute of Social Science, Chennai Campus. So let me welcome Veerapandian. Uh,
Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
continue. Okay.
Go ahead, please.
All right. Let's begin then.
Okay. Shall I go ahead?
Yes, yes, sure.
Okay. All right. So the topic that we are planning to discuss today is very vast. So I don't have PPT or anything. I'm open to questions, discussions. That is how I'm seeing it. So maybe you can stop me if you have any questions by raising a hand. We can have interactions, I think. Otherwise, I have few things to share, and I'll just go ahead and share. And wherever you feel like having an interaction, just raise a hand. Hope that works for all of us. All right. Great. Thank you, Samia. Just to indicate that you're all there and listening to me, either show a thumbs up icon or a hand raise. Yeah, thumbs up would be good. Okay, great. Thank you. Right. Right. If any of you have any expectations, you want to put it before we go, that's also good. I welcome that. So if any of you have any expectations, just raise the hand. We'll listen to you also before I talk. Right? Okay. So I see that you are open to listen to me. So I take it as a green signal and go ahead. How do I become a psychotherapist and how do I achieve that excellence? That's the question or objective that I'm going to answer. More than teaching something, I'm going to share how the journey is likely to be. What I see here is, a passion to be a counselor or therapist is essential if you want to be in this profession. And remember, first of all, this is not a business. This is a profession. For example, um, ideally, you can see 4 or 5 clients per day. That is what you can see. and not beyond that. If you are saying that I see 8 clients per day, 10 clients per day, 15 clients per day, in my head, I would be like, okay, quality would suffer. That is how I see it. So maybe let's say you see 4 or 5 clients per day, uh, 4 or 5 days in a week you practice. If you say I practice all the 7 days, I would be like, okay, that's a red flag. Uh, the practitioner is going to be reaching soon a burnout condition. That is what I will think in my head. So obviously, ideally speaking, 3 or 4 days you practice, and the other days you do training programs or reading, things like that. Something else, and then one day for you and your family. I have some experience in transaction analysis. I journeyed for 6 years in the transactional analysis field. Eric Byrne is the founder. Many of you might be aware of that. So Eric Byrne is asking all of us to ask this question, while my family is waiting outside my counseling door, I choose to work with the client. What is in it for me? Right? It's a question that we all ask. So considering these points, I would say, this is a profession, not a business. Please do not see it like a business. Profession in the sense you have a structured work time, and then your income is also going to be structured. You can't expect a lot of money like business, right? If you do that, the quality will suffer. So we need to be ready for these things. So my point is, have a passion for this profession. Without a passion, getting into that is going to be a burden. Ideally, in your undergraduation, choose a college or course that kind of gives you a preliminary idea, or some training about some focus on counseling, psychotherapy. Not all the colleges and undergraduate courses are designed that way in India. That's my understanding. Having been worked in some colleges in Tamil Nadu and having been worked with professionals all over India, my sense is most of the undergraduation courses are theoretical and teach you the hardcore topics of psychology. Luckily, some colleges, some universities and institutions give you that focus. This is how counseling and psychotherapy will be. So if you choose that kind of undergraduation, you are very lucky. Why I'm saying that? By the time you come to post-graduation, you need to have that focus, right? So that is one thing I see that as a good foundation, right? I don't know how many of you are lucky to have such a exposure. And in the PG course, ideally you choose applied psychology, counseling psychology, some specialization, so that your basics will be very good. I know there are a lot of universities and institutions provide psychology courses with exposure in all fields, like organizational, marketing, counseling, education, all of that. So when you are studying in those kind of departments, it's going to be tough because your exposure at the PG level will be limited. So if you want to choose counseling and psychotherapy, ideal to study counseling psychology PG. Of course, if you don't have, what else you can do? After your PG, you have a flair for psychology, counseling, therapy. What else you can do? Ideally, I would want you to get into some international certification courses. We are living in a world of opportunities. That's the beauty of today's world. Through online or offline, you have a lot of international courses available, whether it is CBT or psychodynamic approach, integrative approach, transaction analysis, Gestalt, NLP, psychodrama, you name it, relational. There are a number of schools of thoughts, and each school of thought have their own association, and their certified trainers are available all over the world in all countries. So registering to your course would be good, right? Subbalakshmi has a question. I will take that question, and then a chat question also. Subbalakshmi, go ahead. Can unmute and ask your question if you have a question. Also in the chat, we have a question. Can you suggest some websites or institutions for certification? Okay, since I worked with the transaction analysis community, studied there, I can give you, there is a website called SATA.org, SAATA, South Asian Association for Transactional Analysis. SAATA, SATA.org. I'll just put it here. So if you go into this website, SATA.org, you will see what they are doing, transactional analysts, what they are doing all over the world, who are the trainers, where are they available. So you can choose a trainer close to your place. Similarly, Albert Ellis has a school, Ellis School of Cognitive Therapy. If you go online and search for Ellis School of Cognitive Therapy, you will find it. And they offer a lot of online courses, certifications. Similarly, in most of the major cities like Chennai, Mumbai, Trivandrum, Calcutta, Delhi, most of the cities have NLP practitioners. Internationally, Goa, certified NLP practitioners, certified Gestalt practitioners. All that you need to do is, Gestalt community, transaction analysis community, psychoanalysis community. That's what you have to search. When you search, most of the international certification bodies have their official website. For example, for South Asia, we have SATA. Internationally, we have International TA Community, ITA, ita.org. Right? So most of these courses are provided online, and you will find the list of trainers. While I'm talking about this, I also feel like saying this, right? As far as India is concerned, we don't have a council for psychology, like Medical Council of India, Nursing Council of India. We don't have Psychology Council of India recognized by Central Government of India. Of course, you have Rehabilitation Council of India, RCI. That is only for people who are working in the rehabilitation field, not for all of us. So you can't just like that get into RCA and get RCA license. Either you should have completed the MPhil in clinical psychology in recognized institutions, RCA recognized institutions again. Clinical psychology course that is recognized by RCA. Or you should have completed some rehabilitation courses like diploma courses approved by RCA. They have all over the country educational institutions, and they have diploma courses. If you have gone through those diploma courses, you'll be given RCA license. Again, RCA license is for those people who are working in the rehabilitation sector. Right? Of course, we psychologists can also get RCA license, but the route is little cumbersome. You have to show what are your degrees and what kind of work you are doing, and they have some criteria. But somehow everything boils down to one factor. You should have done some rehabilitation work. That's where we are out of this. And of course, in India, we don't have a license for psychologists. People with post-graduation degree in psychology can practice following the ethical guidelines, all of that. Another one good thing that Central Government of India is doing is they have MSME website, micro, small, mini entrepreneurship website. So you can register your organization in MSME so that it helps in many ways. For example, you're practicing independently. Let's say you have a private practice. After 3 or 4 years, you do private practice. And after that, you're applying for some jobs or applying for MPhil or PhD course. When people ask you, what have you been doing for the past 3 years? What would you show? Something solid, something important to show. There, if you are registered in MSME, your financial reports, your newsletters, your work under the registered name, all of that can be shown as a proof of your work for 3, 4 years. Right. And the good thing is MSME registration happens based on your Aadhaar. So it should legally hold all the power to show that you worked. Right. So that being the situation, it's important for all of us to get into some international certification, ideally, till the time Government of India is going to announce or give a licensing body. It is safer, that's what I would say. More than that, for the sake of knowledge acquiring and to sharpen your counseling and therapy skills, it's good to have certification training programs. For example, I'm quite impressed by the program offered by TA community. It's very good. I think you know this also. TA community accepts non-psychology people also. TA community would not expect you to have a post-graduation in psychology. You can be from any field, but you can get into TA training. They believe in their training. They train you very well. With that training, you will be able to provide a good quality service. That is how they see it. So that's why I favor doing some international certification courses. For example, SFBT. This SFBT is all over the world nowadays because most of the IT companies recruit life coach experts. For example, I worked as life coach for about 3-4 years when I was working in Banyan as assistant professor. My institution had a tie-up with most of the companies on the OMR. We have a digital city here. So I served to 1 or 2 IT companies as life coach. So if you want to be a life coach, at least SFBT would be good, or life coach certification. Okay. So these kind of certifications are good. They train you very well. That is why I favor having international certifications. Okay. Not all of us are afford to do international certification in terms of time, money, energy, whatever it is. What else you can do to improve your quality? The best thing is have a supervisor, someone who is experienced in the field, can be your supervisor. Of course, in international certification courses, to become a supervisor, you need to pass the supervisor examination. All over the world, most of these organizations conduct separate exams for supervisors. Right? If you are a certified supervisor, then you can officially supervise youngsters. Okay. Niharika is asking, can you please recommend some good SFBT certification? SFBT certification is available online. You just find the trainers nearby to your place because all of them are controlled by one SFBT organization, international organization. They are provided license, certification. It's a matter of you choosing someone close to your place. Because some of the schools of thoughts would not offer online course. For example, classical psychoanalysis, they don't offer any online courses. They expect you to join the full-time course and study. right? TA also would not encourage online courses, but because COVID happened and we had no other choice, they kind of did it online for a while, and now they are slowly getting back to offline. Okay. At least the basic thing, if you want to be a good therapist or counselor, I would ask you to do self-supervision. Okay. For example, um, during my work as assistant professor in Madras School of Social Work, as well as in Banyan, uh, when I was a TIS faculty, uh, we would give them a template. The template is conduct a counseling session and then intuitively choose any 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 10 minutes from your 1 hour income or 1 hour 45 minutes session. Right? Intuitively choose either a 2 minute or 5 minute or 10 minutes conversation that happened between you and your client and transcribe it. Listen to the audio and then write it like, counselor, client. Transcribe it, make it a verbatim. And then once the verbatim is in your hand, read the verbatim and ask yourself questions like, what did I do here in the 5 minutes conversation or in the 10 minutes conversation? What did I do? What are my emotions and feelings? How confident I was when I was doing this piece of work? How certain I was when I was doing this piece of work? These are all basic questions. The most important question is, theoretically, how am I fitting this 10 minutes? Maybe you're a person-centered therapist or a psychodynamic therapist or a TA therapist. You see yourself that way. So in this 10 minutes, what did I do theoretically? Right? If you listen to the tape and try to match the theory with the work that you have done, that's wonderful. That's a wonderful beginning that you are ready to become a good therapist. Eric Byrne himself says, while you're working with the client, heal first, analyze later. Right? While you're working, you may not have these ideas. What is the theory? How am I diagnosing? What am I saying? How am I providing treatment? You may not have any idea. Probably intuitively you spoke, intuitively you did things. That is all fine. But after the work is done, listening to the 10 minutes audio and then combining it with a particular theory is good. That's the beginning. How you will start growing as a good counselor. When you are seeing it from a theoretical point of view, it gives you the motivation to read the related materials from a textbook or from a website, whatever it is. So that is how we expand. Why supervision is important from a supervisor? You cannot just do counseling like a maths. It's not mathematical. There is no formula. Of course, we try to make as many formulas as possible, but none of these formulas are going to be comprehensive, right? My understanding in my head is, when you want to work with a client, multiple hypothesis testing is the best methodology. Which means what? You will try to understand your client applying multiple hypotheses. Could this be the reason? Could this be the cause? Could this be the uh, issue behind? Right? Multiple hypothesis testing. Which means what? There is no criteria, there is no formula, there is no mathematics behind this. So you cannot do counseling and therapy like a robot. You need to be there, alive, right? With your intelligence, presence of mind, intuition, experience, basic foundation, learning. With all of that, you need to be there. It's a highly challenging job. No one can do it easy. So that's why you need a supervisor. Sometimes the supervisor can be one of your peers. It can be a peer supervision, right? Form into small group of practitioners, 3, 4 people, and make it a habit to meet once or twice a week. Just talk about your clients so that your own peers can give a different view on your client, a perspective, right? Or have a specialized person or experienced person as your supervisor. They can also sit beside you and look at your work. Many of us misunderstand the word supervision. Supervision is not fault finding process. It is supervision. You distance yourself and see your work from a distant place. So supervision means it could be self supervision, it could be peer supervision, it could be supervision by a supervisor, right? And the idea is not only to see what you did badly or how you made a mistake, rather to see what are your strengths. How did you do certain things very well? How certain things come naturally for you because of your personality or basic education or whatever it is? How certain things come very naturally. So your supervisor can help you on those lines. He or she can point out to you that you have some talents natural. They come to you handy whenever you work with a client, right? When I was working as assistant professor, I was telling my students that all of you during your PG course, first year and second year, should have a therapist, right? We called it as personal work. Of course, your teachers would also say personal work. So we encouraged our students both in Madras School of Social Work and in this Banyan. They should meet a counselor at least for 8 to 10 sessions in the first year, again 8 to 10 sessions in the second year. Initially in my career, I used to work with my students, seeing them as clients and providing them personal work out of that, because that's a traditional from where I'm coming. My mentors were my supervisors too, who taught me counseling and psychotherapy, were also my therapists. So I enjoyed therapeutic work with them. So that's the tradition I followed initially. Then I realized, of course, we realized as faculty that having 20 students or 40 students, you can't do that. Practically, that's not possible. So we have made a networking job and found counselors and therapists who are willing to work with clients at a pro bono level or the affordable cost. And then we encourage our students to um, take personal work because we all carry our own baggages, right? And we all have our own attachment issues, right? So when you come with your own attachment issues, childhood baggages, those things will definitely impact your work with your clients. For example, in TA, we have a concept called passing the hot potato. What is this concept, passing the hot potato? Uh, if your parent or parent figures had some lethal messages in their personality, say for example, I should not have born or don't exist. If you have such a material from your childhood, meaning your parent, they somehow unknowingly, unconsciously pass on this to their next generation emotionally, through talking, dialoguing, or through demonstrating, getting into difficulties in their life. They pass on this message somehow to their children. Not that they want to pass it on to them. It happens unknowingly, unconsciously. So now you have received it from your parent figures and you start your practice. What is likely to happen? You are likely to pass on this to your clients unknowingly, unconsciously. Right? So These are all our materials that will seep into the work that we do. Suppose you carry a message, a script material that, don't be successful, be a failure. You are likely to pass on this to your clients. This risk being there, it's important that we do some amount of personal work while you're a student. Of course, you can continue even after you become a therapist and start your practice, but at least while you're a student, it is good. So, some amount of personal work, good foundation academically, and then get into the job. Start practicing. When you're practicing, beginning years, definitely have a supervisor, right? An external person who can be your supervisor. Identify people. There are a lot of people who have passion in doing client work. Identify them, talk to them. Some people are certified supervisors, so they charge you professionally, so you can pay professional charges and take supervision. Sometimes when you are taking certification courses like TA, psychodynamic, you are expected to go through supervision. You want a certification, they say 300 hours of supervision, 500 hours of supervision, right? So when you take sufficient hours of supervision, it really sharpen your skills, fine tune your uh, therapeutic acumen, right? You don't have any of these things, at least have self supervision and peer supervision. Any questions, any thoughts at this point? Okay, what else I can do beyond supervision? I would suggest, based on the school of thought that you want to practice, you may be a CBT person or you may be a TA person or psychodynamic person. Based on your interest and practice style, go on to the related websites and download something called case study, right? Case study format. So each school of thought have their own case study format. Based on your choice of school of thought, have a case study format and write your clients in that case study format. If you are a CBT person, refer some CBT books, download their case study format and write the case study in their format. When you are writing the case study in their format, it also gives you every now and then the places or the pointers where you have to refer the related literature. The continued education is very, very important for practitioners. I have 20 plus years experience in this field as an assistant professor, lecturer, teacher, whatever you call, and then 13 to 15 years as practitioner. But even today, I spend minimum half an hour to 1 hour reading. And nowadays, I read based on my clientele. For example, I work with a client, and then after having done the work, I have my own questions, theoretical questions. And related to that, I refer the books. So how do you get that? You need to write the cases, the case study format. When you write, again, I know it's not easy to write elaborately, but somehow, as much as possible, do the best yours and fill in the case study format so that it gives you pointers. What are the places where you need references or where you need supervision? So writing case study is very, very important. Do not undermine the value of it. First 5 years, you will not become a good counselor or therapist without writing case study. That is why I say 5 sessions per day, not more than that. Certain jobs are identified as burnout jobs, burnout prone jobs. As far as I remember from my training and literature, I'll tell you which are the jobs. If you work as a pilot, you're likely to face burnout a lot. If you work in the bomb squad, you're likely to face burnout. If you work in the medical field as doctor, nurse, you're likely to face burnout. And counseling, psychotherapy. As far as I remember, these 4 fields are burnout prone jobs. Right? So you can't be seeing 7 sessions, 8 sessions per day, 10 sessions per day. No. So you need to keep yourself comfortable in terms of finance. For example, you can't be doing pro bono work 3 days a week and then keep worrying about financials. So that's going to take the focus away from your practice. How to provide a high quality work? Charge. For example, in my practice, I may have few sessions for deserving people where I would give it as pro bono or reduced charge. But other sessions would be charged based on my calculations, how I meet my ends every month. For example, if you have an office, you may have to pay for the office. You have an infrastructure, you need to pay for it. So calculate all of that, charge accordingly. Like I said, we are living in a world of opportunity. Back up your work with other activities like training programs, educational programs, all of that. You don't have to be a therapist or counselor all the days in a week. Certain days can be for life coach or training, which will financially support you. Because the foundational point is it's a profession, it's not a business. And take 10 days or 1 week every year for yourself and get rid of everything and spend some mindfulness, sharpening the saw. If you choose to be a counselor or psychotherapist, you need to sacrifice certain things. Right? You can't live a flamboyant life. You can't have a lot of fun and joy all the time. Because it's a sort of profession that requires you to be an introvert, thinking type, intuitive minded. So your lifestyle should be in that way. For example, spending some 45 minutes to 1 hour every day on your fitness, physical fitness. Sometimes I wonder that we are sitting more than a bus driver, sitting and doing his work. Right? So sitting and listening to client is not easy. It will bring its own occupational hazards. They're likely to develop diverticulitis, piles, hemorrhages, bloating and indigestion. So doing exercise every day, focusing on your fitness, important. Okay, now that we have talked for a while, you may have questions. Go ahead, ask. You'll get rich information if you ask questions.
Hi, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
It was very much useful information, whatever I have got from you today, which I have ever got from anyone. The one thing I would like to ask is, um, so throughout your life, what was the challenging experience you have done till now, like in this field? Can you please share with us, sir?
Ah, okay. It's not one challenging experience. There are many, many challenges. For example, um, sometimes clients come with different personalities, right? So aligning yourself to each of them and working with them itself is a big challenge. Since you asked this question, Percy, I would like to give you all a small exercise. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Okay. I'll quickly share something to all of you. Um, okay, it's getting ready. Do you see the screen? I mean the PPT? One of you please acknowledge. Do you see the
Yes,
PPT?
yes, so yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. So this is basically about attachment. Okay. So look at the horizontal line here. The horizontal line is about acceptance of self, low anxiety to high anxiety. Okay. And the vertical line is about acceptance of others, which is low avoidance of others to high avoidance of others. So what I want you to do now is, if you have a paper or notebook or in your mind, look at the horizontal line. When it comes to accepting self, you accepting yourself, where would you place yourself in the horizontal line? Intuitively place yourself. It is not based on one experience of yours. As a whole, what could you experience? Low anxiety to high anxiety. On the horizontal line, mark somewhere intuitively. Low anxiety means you have low anxiety when it comes to accepting self. High anxiety is you experience high anxiety when it comes to accepting self. Similarly, how do you deal with others? That's the vertical line. When it comes to acceptance of others, do you have low avoidance of others or high avoidance of others? Again, mark somewhere in the scale, vertical scale.
So,
Hmm.
when you say avoidance of others, does it mean us avoiding them or
Yes, yes.
like avoiding the conflict?
As a person, you accept others or not, right? You may avoid at a less level or higher level. Okay. Hope you've done it. Once you're done the two marking, one on the horizontal line and one on the vertical line. Now connect the both dots so that you will see which quadrant it is cutting off.
So could you explain the low avoidance, like the vertical line once again?
For
What does it mean?
example, when I relate with people,
Mm,
I generally accept them unless they have some quality that I don't like. Generally, I accept everybody. That is low avoidance.
mm,
High
okay.
avoidance is if I see someone walking towards me 100 yards away, I
Mm,
just pretend and walk away as if I have not seen that person. That's high avoidance.
all
The
right.
general attitude when it comes to living with people, working with people, collaborating with
Mm,
people, do you have low avoidance or high avoidance?
yeah. Okay, sir.
Yeah. So now after putting the markers on the lines, connect the markers so that you will see which quadrant it is cutting across. For some people, it may cut the first quadrant, low anxiety, low avoidance. For some people, it could be cutting the low avoidance, high anxiety quadrant, so on and so forth. Okay, done?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we go to the next slide to see an answer. Okay. So the first quadrant on the top left to me is called as secure attachment, wherein the person will have low anxiety accepting self, low avoidance when it comes to accepting others. That is called secure attachment. Top right is called as preoccupied attachment, wherein accepting others is low avoidance, whereas accepting self, high anxiety. Okay. The right side bottom one is high anxiety, high avoidance, which is called as fearful avoidant attachment. Okay. And then left side bottom, low anxiety, accepting self, high avoidance when it comes to accepting others. It's called dismissive avoidant attachment. So now you can check what is your attachment style by seeing the connected dots. The connected dots cut across a particular quadrant, right? Now the point is, you as a counselor bring in your own attachment style, and your client bring her or his attachment style. This is where the interesting part begins. Right? With your attachment style, you try to connect with the other person in a particular way, and your client try to connect with you in a particular way. For example, I'll give you some idea here and there, but later you can read it from a source. Suppose your client is coming from a preoccupied attachment style. That is low avoidance of others, but high anxiety in accepting herself. If she is coming from that preoccupied attachment, what is she likely to do with you? Right from minute one, she is going to keep you in pedestal. She believes that you are a great person and you have the capability to solve her problems, and only you can solve her problems. All of that she's going to think. So psychologically, she's going to keep you in pedestal and submit herself to you, play dependency with you, expecting that you will do wonders and magics for her to get out of her problem. So if you here and there hurt her unknowingly, she's going to overreact by crying or demanding that you harmed me, etc., etc. Let us imagine the next scenario. a fearful avoidant attachment style. A client coming with that, high anxiety in accepting self, high avoidance of others. This client is going to take a lot of time trusting you, believing you, willing to submit and work with you. Right? They fix appointments with you and then say, I will be very regular, I will come, all of that, but they don't come regularly, they don't inform you, they don't pay you. Right? Sometimes you say, this is your material, and they resist, saying, no, you are misunderstanding me. And that is how people with fearful avoidant attachment style is going to work with you. Let's talk about the next scenario. Dismissive avoidant clients who have high avoidance of others and fairly accept themselves. They only accept themselves, not others. That's a problem. So they come and play all kinds of entitlement games with you in therapy. No, I will only decide when I want sessions. I will not accept to any of your rules. They passively or openly, aggressively play the entitlement games with you. Let's look at the last scenario where the secure attachment plays. Client comes with fair expectation that, I accept myself, I accept my therapist. My therapist is there to support me, help me. They come and play very nicely with you. Right? Answering Fuzzy's question. This is going to be the biggest challenge. Right? Your attachment style and their attachment style. This is why I said it's important. At one side, personal work, you need to go through personal work. At another side, good training and supervision. These are all not easy unless you are helped by a supervisor. Sometimes I failed in having a good relationship with my clients in a long run. Sometimes relationships went sour in between, and some clients left. Okay? Those are all challenges. Now, how you hold a client nicely with you in therapy and go in the journey very well and offer what they want and they leave with satisfaction itself is a big challenge. Because clients play all kinds of games unconsciously. Not that always they want to play these games. These are all unconscious. The two unconscious minds meeting and aligning with each other is a big challenge. Right? And have your boundaries very, very clear. For example, decide on who is going to be your clientele, whether you are good with children, adolescents, adult clients, have clarity on that. And then based on your school of thought, training, background, all of that, see what kind of problems or issues you're good at. Define that boundary. This is what I would do. For example, when clients come with addictions, I generally turn them to the addiction centers. I don't generally work with them because my boundary is that, I believe strongly that when people have addiction issues, it's important that they go through the medical procedures first. Right? And they should be helped in a de-addiction center first before they come to you. I'm open and willing to take them, work with them. But I make it a point that, go to de-addiction first, complete that process, and then come back. We'll work together. Here and there, I work with some bipolar clients also. I have some connection with the network, bipolar network. But when I work with them, I tell them that, talk to your psychiatrist. Get your psychiatrist's approval. Tell him or her that you are seeing me. Right? Without that, I don't work with clients who have bipolar disorders or severe depression. Of course, these conditions require medical intervention first. So have your ethics very clear. And some of these clients who are working with me are cleared by their psychiatrists. Their psychiatrists are well aware that they are coming to. Okay, I see some raised hands. Go ahead. I pass here. Ask question. Glacy.
No questions, sir. Maybe by
Okay.
mistake.
Okay, okay, right. I've learned that this AI sometimes artificial intelligence connected to the software gives the raised hand. Okay. Okay. Any more questions?
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, is there any online platform that gives supervision? I mean, affordable.
Maybe you can check with Junaid. Happlyf might be doing something.
Yes, we can help with that.
Yeah. Other than that, supervision is not generally an easy field. You know why? Because to provide supervision, you need to be a certified supervisor. For example, in TA, we have certification levels like this. CTA, that is Certified Transactional Analyst. Then PTSTA, that is Provisional Teaching Supervision TA expert. Then TSTA, that is Teaching Supervisory TA person. So if you see these three certifications, a CTA may not be a supervisor because CTA is only licensed to practice. So a CTA person cannot be a supervisor. PTSTA and TSTA can be supervisors. So because it follows such a tight ethical boundary, you would not find any online supervision places. Ideally, you join a training in psychodynamic or SFBT or CBT or TA, and then you will find certified supervisors. Since India's situation is totally different, right now, the good that you can do is identify good practitioners with sufficient years of experience and take supervision from them. For example, you see some of my students here, they all were there in Banyan when I was a teacher for them, and we did supervision as academic supervisors. And many of them are continuing with me. We meet once a week. Like that, have your own supervision group. Yes, Ayush.
Well, so I have been looking for supervision since a very long time
Mm.
now. But as you said, the international, they usually cost a lot more,
Yeah.
which a student cannot afford. So I've been trying to get in touch with some Indian institutions. But the thing is that, for example, I was trying for Beck Institute for
Mhm.
CBT, but
Mhm.
that was very costly. So I switched to some Indian institute. All they offered is a combined psychotherapy program
Mhm.
rather than a focused CBT program.
Mhm.
So, what are your views on that? Is that beneficial? Because I have done few such programs, but they just tell us what the therapy is. No training as such. And I have already completed my master's, but I still feel that I lack that counseling techniques, maybe, which is necessary for, uh, taking on clients.
So when you
So
say combined psychotherapy, what is that combined psychotherapy means? Could you please
in that
elaborate?
in that they would teach you about each and every therapy,
Mhm.
SFBT, CBT,
Mhm.
everything in, like a combined, and they do not give you a detailed as to how to proceed and how to do that, just the highlight of it that this is CBT or this is psychodynamic therapy or whatever.
Yeah. So if they have to give you training exclusively on CBT or psychodynamic or TA, they should be certified from that school of thought. Which
Right.
means, like you said, the cost is very high because they
Right.
are international trainers. Obviously, they keep the cost very high.
Yes, sir.
In that case, it's okay to take courses like this if the trainer is very good, have sufficient work knowledge. You can take these training programs because uh, as you start your practice, as you practice, you will see you are good at what. Because that's the Indian scenario, right? For example, my college professor was a known person-centered therapist. She worked many years as school counselor, practiced person-centered, and then taught us person-centered therapy, all of that.
Yes.
But as I was doing the work, I saw myself naturally doing psychodynamic style very well.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to have tug of war with her. She used to say, "No, this is too much. You are not respecting people. You are analyzing too much." But I was interested in that kind of work. And then sportively, she said, "Maybe you have to leave my school of thought, leave from me, and then go to this concern, this particular person." Uh,
Right.
my first trainer was Emma Gonzalez. She was a trained psychoanalyst and very good at Egan's model. Gerard Egan's model. So when I started my work with Emma Gonzalez, I felt excited because she was a psychoanalyst. So she taught us the basic psychoanalysis techniques, and I saw myself picking up those skills naturally.
Right.
So in that angle, I would say that's the reason why I got into TA also, because TA is basically offshoot of psychodynamics. So I got into this, I liked it, and I started developing myself slowly by finding people, going through trainings here and there.
Right.
So in that case, it's okay to start your journey that way. Somehow, this kind of training is also necessary for your practice because you're going to deal with depression exclusively, bipolar conditions exclusively, anxiety exclusively. You're going to have clients of this sort. When you have these kind of clients, a multiple approach would come in handy. For example, sometimes with certain clients, I use NLP techniques or Gestalt techniques. It's like integrating. I do the work. In my work, I integrate other schools of thoughts also.
Right.
Ideally, we are all expected to find our own model, right? For counseling and psychotherapy, you need to have your own style and model. You're encouraged that way. So it's okay to have uh, exposure like that.
Thank you so much, sir. That was very helpful.
Thank you for asking that question. Given a chance before end of my career or life, I would be willing to learn psychodrama, gestalt, right? Like practical issues stops me, but I still have a lot of interest to learn gestalt or psychodrama, NLP. So it's an ocean, so you can't stop learning. Thank you, Niharika. I see many of my students in the group. Okay. Any other questions?
Sir, could you also give us some insights on research opportunities?
In this field?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. I also see Maria writing, have you ever felt that you are getting affected by the client emotionally? When you are practicing counseling, you are staying. So it's like a metaphor, I'll tell you. And then I'll answer you, Ayushi. I'll answer Maria's question now. So it's like when you are doing counseling with the client is in the desert, hot desert. As a counselor, you stay out of the desert and then you tell the client, okay, now walk forward, take left turn, right turn. You are unaffected emotionally because you are out of the pains, right? And that is what counseling work is. So generally, getting emotionally affected of client's material is less in counseling work. But when you become a therapist and start doing therapy work, it's unavoidable. It's like you are walking in the desert along with your client. That's what psychotherapy is. So obviously, your client materials will impact you. Like Freud said once, right? There is no transference or counter-transference. It's not therapy. That's what Freud's idea. If you are not dealing with transference, counter-transference, you are not supposed to call your work as therapy. Of course, CBT people, person-centered people would not agree, right? But seeing it from that angle, when you allow transference, counter-transference, you allow yourself to be impacted by your client. So that is why I said training is important. Go for international certifications and training, because these kind of inputs are given only in the certification trainings. Reading a book and all won't help here. Right? I remember when I was a life coach, one of my clients, an IT professional, young lady who came and shared her problems with me. I listened to her, and then I was telling my supervisor, I don't know, talking to her was not easy for me. I felt a block in my esophagus and had difficulty breathing. I kept saying, I don't know, I don't know. My supervisor looked at me like that, and then she said, you are also a father having a daughter. That was enough for me. That statement of my supervisor, you're a father with a daughter. I started actually tearing up and weeping. So then I learned, okay, the whole process. I was having my own transferences on her, and I was not aware of it. But at least I could catch that, there is a bodily process. Oh, why am I feeling this heaviness in the esophagus and breathing difficult? So these kind of things is not possible through reading a book or self-reflecting. You need the help of an expert. Right? I could never imagine that I would tear up and weep like that. But she timed it so well. Okay. And that was good enough for me to get in touch with the emotions. So obviously, to answer Maria's question, yes, you will be emotionally impacted, and you will also, with your training, learn to do, work with those emotions. Right. Right. Jagdishan's question. Before that, I will answer Ayushi. Ayushi, sorry, I forgot the question. Will you come again?
Yeah, sir. So I was asking, could you also tell us about some research opportunities in this?
Yes. Yes. Ideally, you are expected to conduct research based on your practice and work. The case studies that you are writing are all research papers in a way. So you are expected to present these case studies in the seminars and conferences that are connected to counseling and psychotherapy. It's like, it's believed that all of us are doing evidence-based practice. Whatever style you are following, whichever school of thought you are following, whether you're mixing all the schools of thought, The basic idea is you are expected to practice evidence-based practice. So you can always present these case studies as papers. You can also do systematic research. For example, you can go online and type this, Mark Widdowson. Okay, Mark Widdowson is a TA person, a trainer, international trainer. He has written a book, How to Treat Depression with Transaction Analysis. Right? So the entire book is about how to treat depression using TA. So Mark Widdowson is giving beautifully how you do a pre-test, intake assessments, and then provide therapy, how you do TA treatment, and then how do you do in between assessments, and then how do you do a post-assessment, and then it is published as a book. This is how you are expected to do research as you are a practitioner.
Right.
Okay? At least 1 or 2 papers every year you can present. Ideally, if you want to do a funded research, then you need to have a PhD in psychology. With PhD in psychology, you can apply for funded research studies and you may get funds nationally, internationally. You can do research based on your practice and share all of that.
Right. Are there any institutions that take in as a research assistant for the students who have completed masters?
In India, if you see, based on my experience, I'm sharing this with you. If you see most of these medical researchers, like field of HIV/AIDS, cancer, infectious diseases, basically.
Yes, sir.
Most of these doctors need to collaborate with social scientists. That is how, because most of the funding agencies in the medical field expect the research to be a hybrid research, mixed method. You do quantitative as well as qualitative.
Right.
So these doctors who do research with heavy funding and all, they need people from psychology, social work background, because we know how to do data collection, conduct qualitative interviews, administer questionnaires, etc., etc.
Right.
So you can look at those kind of job opportunities.
Okay. Thank you so
Most
much.
of the medical colleges, medical hospitals, bigger level medical hospitals, the doctors would be doing funded research.
Right.
Right. For example, I worked with a network called India Clen. It's called India Clinical Epidemiology Network. It exists. You can check also. This
Sure.
clinical epidemiology network takes a lot of social scientists, psychology, social work background, and they work, take our expertise. Cancer care hospitals like Madras Cancer Institute, they all take our help. So these people are open. I was part of an NGO called samarthngo.org. You can check also
Okay, sir.
www.samarthngo.org. This is basically an offshoot of India Clan. After leaving India Clan, we all started it, and then I worked for a while there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir.
These are places you can search. Someone is writing WET, a group of social services. Dr. Komala Vinayak. Thank you, ma'am. Right. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Sahan. All right. I think Ashi is asking any child-related cases. I don't get your question very clearly. Of course, you have to decide on your clientele, whether you want to work with children or adolescents or adults. For example, for me, I work with adults mostly. I don't work with children or adolescents because my training and exposure, interest, all of that suits the adult clientele. For example, most of these art-based therapy, play-based therapists, they like to work with children. So it depends on your training also. Right from my college days, I was so much interested in psychodynamic, unconscious mind, dream interpretation, TA concepts. So basically, the interest was there, so I moved to adult clientele. Of course, I here and there work with adolescents, not much with children, because I can see that working with children needs specialized skills. You need training in art-based therapy or play therapy. Though I did try here and there and successful, it's not so comfortable. It gives a feeling something I'm missing. Okay. If we don't have any further questions, maybe we can go back to Chennai.
Okay, so I hope the session was very much helpful for each and every one of you. There is one more question.
Yeah. So is it okay if I answer that?
Sure, sure. Please go ahead.
Okay. Maria is asking, how do you manage to differentiate yourself from the outcome? I mean, what we find it difficult to help them connect. Meaning, how you're unaffected by the outcome, right? Maria? Okay, right. Initial phase of your work, in the beginning of your career, it will affect you because how much ever you do a good job, outcome is not going to satisfy you. Because sometimes you feel, okay, I did a good job with this client today. But the client will be like, oh, okay, I'll think about it, kind of, right? So it's going to disturb you in the beginning of your career. But once you got that first 4 or 5 years of work, and then you gain that confidence that you are doing a good job, this would not generally affect because counseling and psychotherapy is science. So the more and more you train yourself, learn the basic skills, strengthen your clinical skills, it will give you a confidence that you are doing a good job, how this is going to impact your client. If not today, if the client is not acknowledging it today, it's going to have an impact later on. That way you will feel peace of mind. Psychotherapy and counseling is science, no doubt about it. Now, once you learn the sufficient skills, it will give you a lot of confidence that you are doing a good job, and you will see that you are touching the lives of people, and you will see obviously your clients changing the course of their life. So you will not be affected much by the outcomes. Of course, the basic rule of counseling and psychotherapy is that you are responsible for process goals and not the outcome goals. What are the process goals? The process goals are what you are supposed to do as a therapist. What is the outcome is not in your hands, actually. Some of the clients, in spite of the fact that you did a very good job, would not have changed, and that's because their personality and childhood materials. Particularly, clients who have issues before birth, right? Pre-birth issues, attachment issues. How much ever you do well, they may not benefit much from counseling or psychotherapy, little bit here and there. So we can't take 100% responsibility for the outcome. So keep in mind that you are responsible for the process goals and not for the outcome goals. Many a times, a client coming to therapy and staying with you for therapy, though they don't show obvious progress and change, you would have unknowingly closed many of the lethal materials of the client just because you allowed this client to talk to you for sufficient number of sessions. Right? That is the basic rule. Relationally, they would have gained a lot of things from you. So in that way, you would have done a good job. But of course, you are not the God. No, don't overplay your role. Don't think that you are the Brahma going to write their story differently. Of course, you are also a fellow human being. You offer a help. That's all. Thank you for that question, Maria. Question. Thank you, Basel Sadia. Okay, over to Jamil. Two more questions. Sir, may I know your take on therapies that follow the Eastern philosophy, experiential based ones? Is the impact of these approaches? Jagadisan, I think Eastern or Western, they have their own strength. Definitely, they have their own strength. In fact, we need to start learning Eastern philosophy also. It works. Sir, could you say any telecounseling techniques for counselors? This is what I have been doing. I do online sessions. So what I do is, any of the techniques that we provide in the offline session need to be creatively adapted to the telecounseling or online counseling platform. For example, I'll give you one small example. In CBT or in TA, they do an exercise. That exercise is on the floor, they write parent ego, adult ego, child ego. Right? From a TA angle, I'm saying. And then they ask the client to move across the circles. They draw 3 circles and they ask the client to move across the circle on a particular presenting problem. What is your parent is saying about this? What is your adult is saying about this? What is your child is saying about this? It gives an energy shift for the client when you do this exercise on the floor. Okay, it's not offline, it's online. How do you create that energy? I tell my clients, have 3 objects, 3 different objects. When you are one represents parent, one represents adult, one represents the child. So when you are speaking from your parent, take that object, keep it in your hand, show it in my camera and speak. The similar thing in CBT also, they draw irrational thought, rational thought, all of that on the floor, and then they ask the client to shift, basically to give the shift of energy to the client. We can do it with a pillow, have 3 pillows, small pillows, or cushions, or soft balls, and then carry that in your hand when you are representing that particular part. So for telecounseling, I would say apply your creativity and all the offline techniques, how it can be modified for online. And of course, look at the material and see whether you are ethically doing anything wrong or you're harming the client in any way. Have discussions with your peer supervisors or actual supervisor about these techniques and use it. And read across different schools of thoughts, particularly treatment tactics, Gestalt treatment tactics, TA treatment tactics, CBT treatment tactics, and pick up the treatment tactics which can be given to clients through online mode. Some of these can be directly given to clients online. Have it like a ready reckoner with you. Start collecting the treatment tactics. right? Because there are books that says how you can do telecounseling effectively. Read those books, and that will be helpful. But more than that, it's important that we improvise, use our own creativity. Thank you all. Shall we proceed over to Javeed?
Yes. So, thank you, VP, for the wonderful session. I hope everyone had some takeaway from this session. And like I said, do keep following the community. There will be more sessions for the community. So we'll wind up for today. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Javeed. Thank you all. See you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.